What's the worst instance of hypocrisy you've witnessed in your life? Serious. Ex-girlfriend of mine always tells me that the people she hates the most are cheaters. You can probably guess what she did next. My mother supports maximum sentences for simple drug possession crimes. Yet she pleads with the judge that my brother doesn't deserve to be in jail for such because he's not a violent offender. My sister condemns other women as being who or sleuths often. But if she does some of the behaviors she gets angry at them for, posting provocative selfies, wearing too much makeup, talking to a few different guys at once, etc., then she's a strong, empowered woman. Hey, Nicole, make up your mind. I think I posted about this before, but I'll go ahead and do the short version. Childhood friend of mine who has become extreme levels of SJW makes a post about sexual harassment daily. One day he mentions that if you still listen or like Louis CK as a comedian, you're a piece of shit, and to remove yourself from his friends list because he doesn't want to know rapists like that. Posts it up for 30 minutes with no likes or comments. Then a girl posts a conversation between him and her. Reads something like this: "When are you gonna send me those nudes? I'm tired of ducking waiting." Lots of back and forth just like that of him being aggressive towards her in private messages. Couldn't help but laugh my ass off and removed him from my life completely after that. My mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and father-in-law all got into an argument with my wife because we wouldn't drop everything and go visit them for Mother's Day when we had plans. It's a 2-hour visit to them. And they got mad because we said that 2 hours of time and gas was too much and it interfered with what we were doing that day. Apparently us not wanting to make a 2-hour trip is unreasonable. But when they don't want to, they just can't afford it, and we should understand. On the same argument, they blatantly said that if we don't have the money to come see them, that I should get off my lazy ass and get a job. My wife and I both have jobs. None of the three of them do. A preacher giving a sermon about compassion and humility who proceeded to scream at the sound guys because she was unhappy with her microphone. My philosophy teacher in high school actually said that the reason black people straighten their hair and use eyeshadow is because they want to be white. When my classmate asked why so many white people go to tanning booths and try to get tan on the beach, he called her a racist and threw her out of the class. My 60-year-old father spread rumors that I was a pedophile because he didn't want people to know he was ducking a 20-year-old for money who was my girlfriend at the time. Slandered me before I could tell his secret. When my parents got divorced, it was because my dad was having an affair over the span of 4 years. My dad always talked about how we needed to be good spouses. Always be truthful. And don't hide shit. My father called me. Found out I got divorced, didn't tell him because we were not close and I knew he would side with my ex, and told me he was incredibly disappointed in me because marriage is supposed to be forever. He was calling me to tell he was getting married for the 5th time. Friend had sex with. Then starting dating my ex while we were still going out. Years later tells me I'm not a true friend because I hooked up with a girl he called dibs on. Then he doubled down when I brought up my ex, saying bro that was so long ago. You ain't my bro, duck off mate. I have a friend who literally tells me my ideas are bad ones and then goes and does them himself. Likes to tell people they were his ideas. You would think I would just stop telling him things, but I haven't for some reason. I guess I just don't always think he's gonna be in a chat. Edit, typo. Controlling parents who didn't like that I had a controlling boyfriend. Gave me a laundry list of reasons why he was a control freak and didn't seem to notice that there was a lot of overlap between the way he treated me and the way they treated me. I had a roommate in college who was also a sex educator and was getting ready to graduate and enter that field. Our last semester of college. She starts saying how her boyfriend has been sick lately and she was really nervous about it. Turns out she gave him herpes, whichever is the kind that is 137, for life, and had known she had it since 18 years old. They dated for almost a year and she never said a ducking thing. He starts to get sick, have an outbreak and goes to the doctor. Gets all these tests. She still doesn't say anything. Finally she let him find out from the doctor and then she came clean. Who knows how many other partners she never told. The kicker? She mentioned how both her parents had herpes and it wasn't a big deal. She is still a sex educator as far as I can tell from her social media. I never really talked to her again. I still find it so fucked up. My husband's parents got divorced when he was 5. His mom remarried almost right away. To her ex-husband's best friend. And said best friend's ex-wife was about 7 months pregnant at the time. So his mom cheated. His stepdad cheated. And stepdad has been a pastor for 30 plus years. If that ain't being a hypocrite, I don't know what is. They are both obviously uber religious. Anti-gay. etc. But yet apparently it was okay to cheat. No one has confronted them about it. But my father-in-law, not stepdad, finally admitted that was what happened. They are pretty shitty people. Kim Davis, sorry if you wanted to forget that name. She was that county clerk who broke the law by refusing to issue same-sex marriage licenses because it's a sin and goes against her religion. Meanwhile, she is on her 4th marriage. I was married to a guy who would rail on about abuses and how no man should ever hurt a woman. He'd talk about his mom's various abuses and how he's there in a heartbeat if any woman needs help escaping because he knows how hard it is go get away. How it's not ever a woman's fault for being abused, it's the abuser's choice to be a monster. Yeah. This would be the same guy who raged at me for being stupid enough to find myself an abuser at 17. For letting him hit me. And for letting it go on for several months before getting away safely. Okay then. Pro-life politicians, religious figures who pressure their mistresses into getting abortions. Personally, my mother-in-law has always decried how her father favored her brother. She's so far up her daughter's as that my husband and his family don't exist. It's so hard seeing the way she treats my sister-in-law and her family. Sister-in-law is preparing to go on a weeks-long vacation while her mom watches the kids. One of my kids has special needs and my in-laws don't give a shit. They act put out if I ask them to watch one of my kids for 2 hours a year because my son needs to see a specialist. I feel so sorry for my husband because I don't think he fully sees it like I do. I see how he tries to win their favor and get their approval. And he just doesn't see it's not going to happen. I do wonder if my mother-in-law is even aware of the hypocrisy. One of my friends says, oh, I have a lot of guy friends, cuss girls cause too much drama and I hate sleuths. She's the one that causes the drama and I wouldn't call her a sleuth, but she ain't an angel. She's had a romantic or sexual relationship with every one of her guy friends. I'm salty af cuss she's not only talked behind my friend's back but mine too for no reason. We were all really nice to her and I regret that. And also honestly, I'm kinda jealous of all the attention she's had from guys. I wouldn't want that for myself, but it'd still be nice to be appreciated, you know? And I just realized that last rant was really ducking basic of me and now I need to go look at a bunch of memes to cleanse myself. Girl I'm friends with is cheating on her boyfriend with multiple people and came into school one day upset. I asked her what was wrong. Boyfriend troubles was the reason, and when I asked what happened her answer was he was talking to another girl. I had a very confused look on my face. You're cheating on him but get mad at him for talking to another girl. I'm still very confused about it. At my grandmother's funeral, my aunt threw a fit about my gay cousin being a pallbearer because he's not going to heaven because he's a sinner and has no right to touch the casket or some bullshit. There was literally a fist fight between two of my aunts that got us kicked out of the cemetery. But the hypocritical part? My holier than thou aunt was a former prose teacher who also slept with women, who abused her children, did every drug under the sun and was a despicable human being. She just tried to forget about all that for one day. I guess. My cousin is actually a good guy and took care of my grandma, while my aunt once told her she was the devil himself and cut all ties with her. Oh. More hypocrisy from her. She wouldn't put sunscreen on her kids or herself because of chemicals. Wouldn't eat McDonald's because chemicals. But got addicted to meth. brother says all gays are child molesters. And vice versa. The straight brother who abused me. Us. We're planning to raise our son vegetarian until he's old enough to make his own choices. Indian Mill. That's ridiculous. You shouldn't stop a child from eating whatever he wants. Never restrict anything. Us. So if he grows up and says he wants to eat beef, that's okay? Indian Mill. No. Because beef's different. I'm not saying this to be edgy. But people who are recently converted Trump supporters. By that, I mean the people who hated him during primary season. Who were ashamed that he was even trying to get the Republican nomination. People who swore they'd vote for a Democrat before they'd vote for him until he got nominated. Then, they fell right back in line. They defended his transgressions. The type that no family values voter would ever stand for. To this day, they support a person that goes against everything they claim to believe in. Just because he plays for our team. Principles mean nothing when party politics come into play. Your beliefs are whatever the party leadership tells you they are. I have lost all respect for anyone who mentioned a word about Hillary's emails in 2016 and still supports this shit. Not because I disagree with them, but because they have no integrity. No principle of any kind. And don't take this as some anti-GOP tirade. I'd be saying the same shit about all of you Bernie bros who were chanting lock her up until Trump started saying it. People who claim to be for family values because they are against abortion and gay marriage. But cheat on their second wife and stand against any benefits for poor families. Some of the Indian immigrants I know will cry foul on being stereotyped. But will totally stereotype African Americans as dangerous people and never buy property etc. in areas with a higher African American, Hispanic population and a lot of other things too. Who will also not participate in the Black Lives Matter movement or acknowledge it. Cause low-key they all aspire to be rich white people. A high school teacher of mine misspelled the word college as collage on an assignment. And I jokingly said whoever wrote this must not have gone to college. She made a huge scene in front of the class for 15 or so minutes about how I don't know anything about her. And she brought some friends of mine into it by trying to get them to say that they thought I was full of myself and got pissed when they all got uncomfortable and disagreed. A week later a classmate made the same mistake on her homework. And the teacher made the exact joke that I had made but failed to see the hypocrisy in it. People who are anti-abortion but won't do anything to help children who are already born. Even further. People who are anti-abortion, but they are also anti-birth control. And anti-services to help women and children regarding unplanned pregnancies. Like, you can't have all of that. Something has to give. Either be in favor of birth control at an affordable price, abortion for unwanted pregnancy, or services to help families. People on welfare are lazy. They blow all their food stamp money on beer and cigarettes. They should be cut off. Coming from a girl whose parents have paid her credit card since she was 18 and bought her house and car. She has never had a job and she is about to turn 50. My husband is super critical of his best friend that is an alcoholic while he is also an alcoholic. He claims his friend is worse because he lies, hides it. In all fairness, I am a hypocrite too. We always hate most in others what hate about ourselves and won't admit it. I feel like if you are aware of it then there's hope to fix the issue. Politicians who rail against something when the other party is in power. But lord the effort if they are in power. Examples include Trump meeting with Kim Jong-un and giving him credibility. Republicans claiming to be the party of limited government and lowering the national debt. But pass an astronomical spending bill that will raise the debt higher than any other administration. Democrats giving Bill Clinton a pass on his sexual abuse of women. But screaming about Trump doing it. They all lose credibility in my view and it makes me afraid for our future. Best friend of 25 years. Her husband touches me inappropriately while I'm sleeping at her house one day. I was shocked and frightened and pretended it didn't happen. I didn't want her blaming me for ruining her marriage so I didn't say anything about it. Many years later we had a falling out and I told her about the assault. She blamed me for trying to break up her marriage and we don't speak for 5 years. Our mutual friend passes away suddenly and I contact her about it. We begin texting back and forth but just polite chit chat. Nothing deep. She shows me a painting she's done on the Me Too movement. After months of holding my tongue, I finally tell her how it made me feel that she has been such an advocate of the movement while her husband was my Me Too. She accused me of trying to break up her marriage again. Duck her and her creepy husband. My ex would always rant about how much he hates cheaters and open relationships and how he believes in just one person with another forever. He went on a trip to another city to meet some old college friends. He had a 3-way with them. But to be fair, when I confronted him and he was asking for forgiveness, he said, "Honestly, I'd probably do it again if I had the chance." I respect his honesty even if we don't talk anymore because of it. My whole childhood was my dad basically treating my mom like trash and accusing her of cheating. He would call her work and ask her supervisor what the organization's policy was on employees having relationships with customers. And basically just things to make my mom feel like trash. None of my brothers or I ever believed she had cheated on him, as she could barely keep friends because our father tried to control every aspect of her life and let alone how she would have time to cheat on him while raising 4 children that he was barely around for. Fast forward to me at 21. And I catch my dad cheating on my mom and then a year later find out I have 2 other siblings from different mothers that all fit the time frame of my parents' marriage. Luckily he isn't in our life much. I know someone that thinks Trump should cut all government assistance programs. He's on disability. He thinks it's different for him because he's sick and can't work. I don't know if I am too late to the party, but as anyone who has worked Sundays in the food industry will probably agree, some of the worst customers with the least compassion always seem to be the ones who are going out to eat in large groups after church. I'm from a very anti-drug area. However, after going to uni I finally found weed and well, damn, weed does good. Anyway, a few of my friends from the same area caught me smoking weed and went mental. One of them now refuses to talk to me completely. However, this guy takes painkillers that he doesn't require while drinking to get more ducked up. Prescription drug abuse is definitely worse than a bit of grass. My ex-boyfriend used to hate the fact that girls were having premarital sex and not protecting their bodies from other men. He used to be so bitter about how his first girlfriend was not a virgin while he was, and that he would have dedicated all his life if they were each other's first sexual partners. I grew up being told I am supposed to treat female bodies as precious and fragile, he said. But once we broke up he manipulated and used me for getting laid and meeting multiple girls on Tinder chats. Also said things like I wish I could raise a girl from her childhood teenage years in protection to be my future wife, so he's the only one she will ever have sex with. Told him he has absolutely no right to think that way on so many levels. But with someone with such irrational and delusional logic, why even waste time arguing? This may not be the worst instance, but it's definitely one that stuck with me. I was working an office job that had flex time. As long as I got my 40 hours in, it didn't matter what hours I worked. Fairly often I would work 4 10-hour days Monday through Thursday and take Friday off. This particular week I found out on Monday that a high school friend of mine died in a car accident and the funeral would be on Friday. Suddenly this week turned into a 4/10 kinda week. No big deal. I proceed to give my always hypocritical miserable boss a heads up of my plan. 40 hours Monday through Thursday. Attend funeral on Friday. He then decides to rip me a new one because this isn't a good time to be taking time off whether you have a funeral or not. Mind you, we weren't abnormally busy or anything like that and I was still going to get all my hours in. So what does this hypocritical worthless pose decide to do? If you guessed take a day off that same week and then the entire next week off for no reason, you'd be correct. It wasn't a planned vacation. He just decided he didn't want to show up that week so he could stay home and be lazy. He would call every morning and tell the number 2 man, who I was friends with, I don't feel like coming in today. This wasn't unusual. At the time he was taking at least 1 day off every week. The following week after his week off he took 3 days off to watch his neighbor bury his horse. Not help. Watch.